Jordan Arnaiz from the Philippine Statistics Authority, and it is my honor to be your host for today's forum. And to officially start our program, may I request everyone to please stand for the doxology and please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times you have offended you. Continue to guide and protect us, Lord. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with prayer and intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اللهم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم اللهم وحد صفوفنا بين المسلمين والنصارى واللوماد إلى صراطك المستقيم اللهم امنحهم العيش بالأمن والسلامة والتنمية المستدامة في مدينة دافاو اللهم لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amoy nen manama kami gimot tolangon, manotod kakaroson no, si koikaw kami dokul tolangon, way migtumpi to tano, si koikaw kami bohoy to kopianan tolangon na maoto, usako kapusong no, kana akong to pabulos koy, o agbuyo koikaw, way bohoy kat pabur, kahalaan, kalinaw, to kanami, no pag-ugpo, way kasapo kakoy, oyot kalambuk. Kay kuro tamana kakodin panubado ipag ampo, kaupianan igboy no, way kakoy ko ni mo no, way kahalaan ko lang.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka masisihil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng buwan at ipagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya ng pagmay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Okay, please be seated. At this point, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed officials and guests who are with us today for the 2025 Data Dissemination Forum on IMTS. First on the list, we have Deputy National Statistician of Sectoral Statistics Office, Assistant Secretary Divina Gracia L. Del Prado. A round of applause, please. Good morning, ma'am. OIC Deputy National Statistician of the Censuses and Technical Coordination Office, OIC DNS Minerva Eloisa P. Esquivias. Assistant National Statistician of Economic Sector Statistics Service, ANS Rachel C. Laksa. OIC Assistant National Statistician of the Macroeconomic Accounts Service, OIC ANS Mark C. Pascasio. Director 3 of Export Marketing Bureau of the Department of Trade and Industry, Attorney Maria Katrina Rivera. Chief of the Policy Research Service, Trade Remedies Office of the Department of Agriculture, we have Mr. John Gregory Aquino. We are also honored to be joined by representatives from various sectors and institutions whose roles are vital in the production, use, and analysis of trade data. So as I call on your service or your office, company, or agency, kindly please stand up for you to be recognized. Starting with our participants from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Good morning, ma'am. Bureau of Customs. Good morning. Our participants from Cargo Data Exchange Center Incorporated. Good morning, sir. From the Department of Economy, Planning and Development. DepDev. We also have our participants from DTI. Good morning. From Econnect Pilipinas. Good morning, sir. From Intercommerce Network Services Incorporated. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. From the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. Good morning. From Semiconductor and Electronics Industries in the Philippines Foundation Incorporated. Also participants from the Board of Investments. Our friends from BFAR. Good morning. From Bureau of International Trade Relations. We also have our participants from the Department of Agriculture. From the Department of Finance. Good morning. From Department of Foreign Affairs. Good morning po. From the Embassy of Malaysia. Good morning. From Export Development Council. Good morning. From Philippine Export or PhilExport. We also have from the Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority. Good morning. Also from the Senate Economic Planning Office. And also our participants from the PSA Central Office. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We warmly welcome everyone, and your presence reflects your continued commitment to data-driven decision-making and inclusive development. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the OIC Deputy National Statistician of the Censuses and Technical Coordination Office, OIC DNS Minerva Eloisa P. Esquivias, for her welcome remarks. A round of applause, please.
Good morning. I'm honored to deliver the welcome remarks of our Undersecretary Claire Dennis Esmapa, who is our National Statistician and Civil Registrar General. To our esteemed keynote speaker, Attorney Maria Katrina Rivera, Director of the Export Marketing Bureau of Department of Trade and Industry. To our distinguished guests, valued awardees recognized for their exemplary role as data providers and data users, participants from various government agencies and private institutions, and my colleagues from the Philippine Statistics Authority, good morning. It is my distinct honor to welcome all of you to the 6th Data Dissemination Forum on International Merchandise Trade Statistics. Since its inception in 2020, This forum has become a vital platform for raising awareness and deepening the understanding of IMTS, which is crucial for informed decision-making, effective trade policy development, and strategic planning among our valued partners in both the public and the private sectors. Today, we reaffirm our shared commitment to promoting a greater appreciation for trade statistics, fostering meaningful dialogue, and strengthening collaboration in the analysis and use of the IMTS data. Through these collective efforts, we move closer to our common vision of informed decision-making and sustainable, inclusive economic development. Through its long and rich history since the 1800s, the compilation of the IMTS continues to serve as a key indicator of a nation's economic performance. These statistics provide essential insights into the movement of goods between the Philippines and its global trading partners, capturing both exports and imports. As the United Nations Statistics Division highlights, the relevance of IMTS lies in its pivotal role in economic development. By tracking cross-border trade, IMTS data help connect producers and consumers worldwide, underpinning global integration and economic resilience. In the Philippine context, international trade statistics, especially data on exports and imports, play a critical role in compiling the national accounts and estimating gross domestic product at both national and regional levels. Exports contribute to economic growth through job creation and income generation, while imports help meet domestic demand and support local industries. In the first quarter of 2025, imports of goods accounted for 30.1% of the GDP, while exports made up 13%. These figures highlight the importance of producing accurate and timely trade data to inform both economic performance monitoring and policy development. The IMTS is also an important input to strategic plans such as the Philippine Development Plan of 2023 to 2028, particularly Chapter 6, Revitalize Industry, and Chapter 9, Promote Trade and Investment, and the Philippine Statistical Development Program 2023 to 2029. Chapter 6, Industry, Trade, and Services Statistics. In these chapters, IMTS serves as a critical evidence base for monitoring the effectiveness of trade strategies and enhancing the country's competitiveness in the global markets. In recent years, the PSA has made deliberate efforts to deepen the meaning of IMTS by releasing the seasonally adjusted export and import statistics, as well as the Unit Value Index for both exports and imports. These indicators help users better understand trends beyond seasonal fluctuations and monitor changes in international prices. We are also committed to improving data accessibility and timeliness. In 2025, the PSA released the monthly IMTS data 10 days earlier compared to the previous year, allowing policymakers, researchers, and the public to access timely insights and act faster on emerging trade dynamics. Moreover, the trade statistics for agricultural commodities, previously released on a quarterly basis, are now published monthly, providing more granular and timely data that supports more swift and effective response to emerging issues in the agricultural sector. These milestones demonstrate our unwavering resolve to serve our stakeholders better and support informed decisions in an increasingly dynamic global trading environment. In today's forum, we will present the IMTS results for the year 2024 and the period of January to May 2025, featuring comprehensive data on exports and imports compiled in collaboration with our trusted partner agencies from across the government and the business sector. The Philippine Statistics Authority remains firm in its mandate to produce quality, relevant, and timely statistics that support evidence-based policymaking and informed public discourse. We are sincerely grateful for your time and participation in this forum. We extend our deepest appreciation to the data providers and users of IMTS. Your ongoing support is vital to the success of our mission. We are sincerely grateful also for your continued collaboration in the future IMTS fora as we work together to advance statistical excellence for national development. I encourage everyone to actively take part in today's discussions. Please feel free to share your insights, questions, and perspectives throughout the forum. Your contributions are vital as we work together to discuss and address relevant issues concerning IMTS. Once again, good morning, and I wish everyone a productive and meaningful day. Maraming salamat ho.
Okay, thank you very much, OIC DNS Minerva Eloisa Esquives. We will now proceed with an audiovisual presentation providing an overview of IMTS. Let's watch this.
The Philippine Statistics Authority serves as the central statistical authority of the government that compiles and generates the international merchandise trade statistics. IMTS pertains to the movement of goods between one country and other countries. IMTS is compiled to serve the needs of many users, including the government, the business community, compilers of other economic statistics, such as the balance of payments and the national accounts of the Philippines, various regional, supranational, and international organizations, researchers, and the general public. The main uses of IMTS are as inputs to the following: computing balance of payments, estimating the national accounts of the Philippines, formulating national, regional, and international policies, and in other pertinent activities such as research studies on trade. History of IMTS compilation. The earliest record was in 1880. From 1885 up to the year 1910, import and export statistics were produced every 5 years. And by 1911, it was produced annually, except during the World War II. In 1950 to 1972, the compilation of import and export statistics was done by the then Central Bank, now the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and the then Bureau of Census and Statistics, or BCS, which was renamed as the National Statistics Office, or NSO. Since 1973, the NSO, which is now part of the Philippine Statistics Authority, is the sole agency that compiles IMTS. In 2010, the term International Merchandise Trade Statistics was used. IMTS coverage. All goods entering or leaving any of the seaports or airports of entry in the Philippines are included in the compilation of IMTS. Specifically, goods included in the IMTS are as follows. While goods excluded. In the IMTS are the following. Sources of information. Hard copies. PSA regularly collects the export declaration and single administrative documents submitted by exporters and importers to the Bureau of Customs. Electronic copies. PSA receives electronic files of export and import documents from the Bureau of Customs, Philippine Economic Zone Authority, and duly authorized value-added service providers such as Econic Pilipinas Incorporated, Cargo Data Exchange Center Incorporated, Intercommerce Network Services, and Clark Development Corporation. The main indicators included in the IMTS are the following: value of exports and imports, volume of exports and imports, total trade and balance of trade. The Philippines adopts the general trade system of recording foreign trade statistics. The customs frontier is used as the statistical frontier. All goods entering any of the seaports or airports of the Philippines, which are properly cleared through customs and are remaining or under customs control, are considered imports, whether the goods are for direct consumption, merchandising, warehousing, or further processing. On the other hand, all goods leaving the country, which are properly cleared through customs, are considered exports. As a general guideline, stipulated in the 2010 IMTS Compiler's Manual, it is recommended that goods be recorded at the time when they enter or leave the economic territory of a country. The date of registry of the exported or imported goods in the Bureau of Customs is used as the proxy date in recording the time when the goods enter or leave the economic territory. The commodities are classified according to the latest revision of the Philippine Standard Commodity Classification. It is aligned with the 2022 ASEAN Harmonized Tariff Nomenclature. The general process flow in compiling IMTS starts with the collection of custom documents, followed by the processing of documents, and finally the dissemination of results. All hard copy documents and electronic files received within the cutoff date, which is every 15th day of the month, are compiled, processed, summarized, analyzed, and disseminated through statistical tables and releases. The processing includes coding, editing, reviewing, and validating results. Dissemination materials. Press releases. International merchandise trade statistics are posted on the PSA website not later than 30 days after each reference month, improving from the previous timeframe schedule of release of up to 40 days after the reference month. Seasonally adjusted value of international merchandise trade statistics of the Philippines posted not later than 30 days after each reference month. Special releases. International merchandise trade statistics of the Philippines, annual and first semester, are posted not later than 90 days after the reference period. International merchandise trade statistics of the Philippines for agricultural commodities are now posted monthly, not later than 40 days after the reference month. This was previously released quarterly. The annual release is posted not later than 90 days after the reference year. Unit Value Index for exports and imports quarterly release posted not later than 60 days after the reference quarter. The annual release is posted not later than 4 months after the reference year. Publication. Annual publication, posted not later than 6 months after the reference year. Infographics. Infographics on monthly IMTS posted on the PSA website not later than 30 days after each reference month. Infographics on IMTS for agricultural commodities posted on the PSA website not later than 40 days after each reference month. Social media card. And social media cards posted on the PSA official Facebook page and Twitter account not later than 40 days after each reference month. IMTS data are disaggregated as follows. Users can also access IMTS data at openstat.psa.gov.ph. metadata of IMTS can also be obtained from pisada.psa.gov.ph. Annual conduct of the IMTS Data Dissemination Forum. Please visit our website at www.psa.gov.ph and like us on our social media accounts at PSA.gov.ph.
Okay, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So that presentation gave us a clear and insightful overview of IMTS, its importance, how it is compiled, and its role in shaping economic policies and trade decisions. And to prove that, let's have a short, fun quiz. May we flash the screen, on the screen, the QR code for our fun quiz? Let's check kung nakinig pong lahat. Okay, kindly scan the QR code, and our game PIN code is 430026. Kindly register your nickname and the name of your agency. Tingnan natin kung sino yung mga nakikinig. Again, PIN code 430026. Secretariat, ilan na yung naka-register? 38 players. 41. Ilan ba tayo dito? Last 1 minute to register. Again, our game PIN code is 430026. Quiz.com. Each question is good for 20 seconds, right? Oh, okay. So each question is good for 20 seconds. Okay, I guess let's start our question number 1. What is the primary role of the Philippine Statistics Authority in relation to international merchandise trade statistics? Twenty seconds. And the correct answer is to compile and generate IMTS for the government and other users. Leading is from BOI Mochi. Question number 2. Which of the following are main uses of IMTS? Medyo mahaba po yung mga choices po natin. And the correct answer is computing balance of payments and estimating national accounts. Let's check kung may changes po. Wow, congratulations from the Embassy of Malaysia. Next question, last question, right, Secretariat? Last question. Final question, double points. How soon does PSA post the monthly IMTS on its website after the reference month? And the correct answer is not later than 30 days. And our winner is... Third place, we have Mr. Nat. I'm not sure from what agency or office. Second is Papa Fong. And congratulations to Mr. Adwa from Embassy of Malaysia. I'm not sure if we have prizes for this. Later po. So our secretariat will award the token to our winner and also 1 year of bragging rights as the winner for our first quiz. We have also another quiz later. Surprise kung saang part po ng program natin ilalagay yon. And at this moment, to introduce our keynote speaker, let us welcome Ms. Gracelyn Katibayan, Senior Statistical Specialist from the Trade Statistics Division. A round of applause, please.
To our distinguished guests, partners from various government offices, fellow PSA colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning. It's with great pleasure that I introduce our keynote speaker, a truly remarkable individual with extensive experience in policy, international trade law, international relations, and intellectual property. She became the Assistant Director of the Department of Trade and Industry Export Marketing Bureau in January, where she continues to champion Philippine exports and boost our global trade presence. Before this, she led international engagements at the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines as Division Chief of the Policy Research and International Affairs Division. There, her leadership was crucial in the Philippines' trade negotiations and in shaping our intellectual property law. Earlier in her career, as Assistant Division Chief of the International Relations Division at the DTI Board of Investments, she honed her expertise in policy development and international trade relations, contributing significantly to our trade and investment landscape. She holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from Arellano University and a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of the Philippines, Manila. She further specialized with a master's in intellectual property and new technologies in Jagiellonian University in Poland in 2022. Given her impressive background and deep understanding of trade and locally and internationally, we are truly honored to have her with us today. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to the Assistant Director of the Department of Trade and Industry, Export Marketing Bureau, Attorney Maria Catrina D. Rivera.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the very generous introduction. So, good morning to all our distinguished guests, partners from the Philippine Statistics Authority, fellow public servants, and participants from across various sectors. It is both an honor and a privilege to be part of this year's Data Dissemination Forum on International Merchandise Trade Statistics with the timely and resonant theme, Building Bridges, Partnerships for Responsive and Timely IMTS. In a world that is increasingly interconnected, where trade flows shift rapidly and global shocks ripple across borders, the need for accurate, timely, and responsive trade statistics has never been more critical. These statistics are not just numbers. They are lifeblood of evidence-based policymaking, the compass for business strategy, and the reflection of how policy and business strategies continuously inform and shape each other. At the Department of Trade and Industry Export Marketing Bureau, trade data informs everything we do. As I've mentioned in my seatmates early this morning, we are not just end users, we're actually everyday users of IMTS. Whether we are negotiating trade agreements, designing export support programs, or streamlining regulatory processes, it all begins with numbers. It tells us what policies are working, where gaps persist, and how our enterprises, especially our exporters and MSMEs, are navigating global markets. It allows us to pinpoint where Philippine exports are gaining ground and where we still need to build capacity. But we know that data alone does not drive change. It must inform policy, and policy must translate into tangible benefits for the Filipino people. That's why we need conversations like this one to contextualize, to interpret, and to collectively ask, how can we use trade data to deliver real impact for Filipino businesses and communities? W. Edwards Deming once said, "Without data, you're just another person with an opinion." This quote may sound a bit blunt, but it's true. In public service, we need more than good intentions. We need facts, evidence, and numbers that guide us to making the right decisions. The right data at the right time can shift entire strategies and even destinies, especially for our exporters. When our data is clear, timely, and widely shared, we empower our stakeholders to make informed decisions, from business strategies to policy directions. Of course, we also recognize the challenges. Delays in data collection, data discrepancies, gaps in digital infrastructure, and varying capacities across institutions can limit how fast and how far insights can travel. But challenges like these are precisely why we're here. Forums like this are not just for sharing knowledge, they're for identifying bottlenecks, co-creating solutions, and strengthening the system together. The theme for this forum, Building Bridges, is a powerful metaphor. It speaks to the collaborative spirit that must underpin our work. Whether we are customs officials, statisticians, economists, or policymakers, we are all part of a larger ecosystem. And in this ecosystem, no single institution can stand alone. Today, we are reminded that each of us plays a vital role. The PSA provides the statistical backbone. Our agencies, including the DTI, extract insights to support our stakeholders, and our stakeholders from industry, academia, and civil society help ensure that these data translate into result on the ground. Responsiveness means more than speed. It means relevance. It means listening to the needs of our stakeholders, whether they are exporters navigating new markets, policymakers responding to economic shocks, or citizens seeking transparency. Trade data reflects our country's economic pulse, and as public servants, our duty is to ensure that it is utilized to provide better policies, better programs, and better outcomes for the Filipino people. We should make sure trade statistics are not just accurate, but also accessible, not just timely, but also useful, and not just informative, but truly transformative. Again, thank you so much for inviting the Department of Trade and Industry Export Marketing Bureau, and we hope that this day would be filled with productivity and discussions among all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Attorney Maria Katrina D. Rivera. And to award the Certificate of Appreciation and Token to our keynote speaker, may I invite our PSA officials, DNS de Villagracia del Prado, OIC DNS Minerva Eloisa Esquivias, and ANS Rachel Laksa to award the Certificate of Appreciation and Token. So the certificate of appreciation is awarded to Attorney Maria Katrina D. Rivera in grateful recognition and sincere appreciation of her invaluable services rendered as keynote speaker in the 2025 Data Dissemination Forum on International Merchandise Trade Statistics. Thank you very much, ma'am. May we request our PSA officials to please remain on stage to award the prizes to our winners sa quiz po natin kanina. Secretariat, can you please assist me sa winners natin kanina? Third placer. Yung third place po natin. Ano yung name kanina? Ng third place. Yung third place. Nat. Mr. Nat. Saan po si Mr. Nat? Hi, sir. Congratulations. Second placer, Papa Phone. Sino po? Hi, ma'am. And to our winner from the Embassy of Malaysia. Okay, thank you very much to our PSA officials and to our winners. Let's check sa second round if we have the same winners. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the 2024 IMTS data, may we now call on Assistant National Statistician Rachel C. Laksa of the Economic Sector Statistics Service. A round of applause, please.
To our Assistant Secretary, Divina Gracia L. Del Prado, Deputy National Statistician of Sectoral Statistics Office, Deputy National Statistician Minerva Eloisa P. Esquives of Censuses and Technical Coordination Office, to our keynote speaker, Attorney Maria Katrina Rivera, Director of Department of Trade and Industry, Export Marketing Bureau, to our discussants, Chief of the Policy Research Service, Mr. John Gregory Aquino of Trade Remedies of Department of Agriculture, and Assistant National Statistician Mark C. Pascasio of Macroeconomic Accounts Service of the PSA. Our distinguished guests from the government and private sector, friends from the media, traders who have joined us today, my colleagues from the Philippine Statistics Authority, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all of you. I am pleased to present to you the International Merchandise Trade Statistics, or IMTS, for 2024. I will be presenting our data on Philippine exports, followed by imports and balance of trade. The presentation, please. Okay. All values to be presented refer to free on board or FOB values in US dollars, except for the growth rates, of course, which are in percent. FOB means that the seller's obligation to deliver is fulfilled when the goods have passed over the ship's rail at the named port of shipment. This means that the buyer has to bear all cost and risk of loss or damage to the goods from that point. So just some definitions before we proceed with the data. Okay, I will now present the 2024 International Merchandise Trade Statistics. First, for the exports of the Philippines, the graph shows the FOB value of the total exports for the period of 2010 to 2024. And for the said period, the highest total value of exports, which amounted to 79.57 billion US dollars, was recorded in 2022, while the lowest total exports valued at 48.30 billion US dollars was registered in 2011. For the period of 2010 to 2024, the highest annual increase in the total value of exports was observed in 2010, registering to 34%. On the other hand, the highest annual decline was recorded in 2020 at 8.1%. The country's total export sales in 2024 amounted to 73.27 billion US dollars. Previous slide, please. Indicating an annual decline of 0.5% from the 73.62 billion US dollars export value in 2023. The top exported commodity group of the country in terms of the total value of exports in 2024 was electronic products, with total earnings of 39.09 billion US dollars, or a share of 53.4% to the total exports in 2024. Among the commodity groups, coconut oil, with total earnings of 2.22 billion US dollars, had the highest annual growth rate of 88.3% in 2024 from 1.18 billion US dollars export sales in 2023. The top major trading partner of the Philippines in terms of total export in 2024 is the United States of America, or USA, with an export value of 12.14 US dollars, or a share of 16.6% to the total exports in 2024. The top exported commodities to the USA was electronic products. Across ASEAN member states, the Philippines ranked 6th in terms of total value of exports in 2024, while the top country was Singapore. Across regions in the country, the highest value of exports exited in the local ports of Calabarzon, which amounted to 26.23 billion US dollars, or 35.8% share to the total exports in 2024. Now I will present the data on the value of imports of the Philippines in 2024. The graph shows the FOB value of the total imports for the period 2010 to 2024. And for the said period, the highest total imports was registered in 2022 at 137.22 billion US dollars, while the lowest total imports was observed in 2010 at 54.90 billion US dollars. For the period 2010 to 2024, the highest annual growth rate for total imports was observed in 2021 at 30.1%, while the highest annual decline was observed in 2020 during the start of the pandemic at 19.5% decline. In 2024, the Philippines had total import value worth 127.60 billion US dollars. Compared with 2023, the value of imports in 2024 increased by 1.1%. The top imported commodity group of the country in terms of total value of imports in 2024 was electronic products, with an import value of 27.38 billion US dollars, or a share of 21.5% to the total imports in 2024. Among the imported commodity groups, cereals and cereal preparations such as rice, wheat, and corn, with import value of 5.29 billion US dollars in 2024, recorded the highest annual growth rate at 23.1% from its 4.29 billion US dollars import value in 2023. The top major trading partner of the Philippines in terms of total imports in 2024 was the Republic or the People's Republic of China, with an import value of 32.83 billion US dollars, or 25.7% share to the total imports in 2024. The top imported commodity from China was electronic products. Among the ASEAN member states, the Philippines ranked 6th in terms of total import CIF value in 2024. Singapore was the top country among ASEAN member countries. Among the regions in the country, the most imports to the country entered in the ports located in the National Capital Region, with an import value of 44.12 billion US dollars, or a share of 34.6% to the total imports in the country. I will now present the balance of trade in 2024. The balance of trade is equal to exports minus imports of the country. And if the balance of trade is positive, this means that exports are higher than imports, or there is a trade surplus. On the other hand, if the balance of trade is negative, this means that the exports are lower than the imports, or there is a trade deficit. The Philippines registered a total trade deficit of 54.33 billion US dollars in 2024. Our trade deficit increased by 3.3% year on year. For the period of 2010 to 2024, the Philippines consistently registered trade deficit. The highest trade deficit of negative 57.65 billion US dollars was registered in 2022, while the lowest trade deficit was recorded in 2014 at negative 3.3 billion US dollars. This ends my presentation for the International Merchandise Trade Statistics for 2024. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ANS Rachel Laksa. Let's proceed to the next presentation. To present the January to May 2025 IMTS data, seasonally adjusted IMTS, and unit value index for IMTS, may we now call on Ms. Maria Julieta P. Sullivan, Chief Statistical Specialist of the Trade Statistics Division. A round of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. I will now present the IMTS for the period January to May 2025. I will follow the same outline. I will present first the exports, then imports, and then balance of trade. For the export of the Philippines, from January to May 2025, the total value of export was recorded at 34.20 billion US dollar. This represents an annual increase of 10.8% compared with the January to May 2024 export sales of 30.87 billion US dollars. The top exported commodity of the country in terms of total export from January to May 2025 was electronic products, with a total earnings of 17.80 billion US dollar, or a share of 52% to the total export from January to May 2025. Among commodity groups, other sugar and products with total earnings of 27.52 million US dollars from January to May 2025 registered the highest annual growth rate of 2,819 and 0.3% compared with a 0.94 million US dollar export value in the same period in 2024. The top major partner of the Philippines in terms of total export from January to May 2025 was the United States of America, or USA, with an export value of 5.38 billion US dollar, accounting for 15.7% share to the total export value from January to May 2025. And the most traded commodities to the USA was electronic products. Now, I will present the value of imports for the January to May 2025. Total imports from January to May 2025 was valued at 53.87 billion US dollar. This represents an annual increase of 4.4% compared with the import value in January to May 2024 at 51.59 billion US dollar. The top imported commodity group of the country in terms of total value from January to May 2025 was electronic products with an import value of 11.94 billion US dollar, or a share of 22.2% to total imports from January to May 2025. Among the commodity groups, office and EDP machines with import value of 9.04 million US dollar registered the highest annual growth rate of 102.5% in January to May 2025 compared with the 4.47 million US dollar import value in the same period in 2024. The top major trading partner of the Philippines in terms of total import value from January to May 2025 was the People's Republic of China with an import value of 15.31 billion US dollar, or 28.4% share to the total import value from January to May 2025. The most traded commodities from China was electronic products. I will now present the balance of trade from January to May 2025. Again, a positive balance of trade means trade surplus, while a negative balance of trade means trade deficit. The balance of trade reached a total deficit of 19.68 billion US dollar from January to May 2025. This trade deficit decreased by 5% from January to May 2024. Now I'll give the summarized highlights of the Philippine export and imports. For 2024, the total value of export was recorded at 73.27 billion US dollar. And among the major trading partners, USA was the top country of destination of export with 12.14 billion US dollar in 2024. And among the commodity groups, electronic products was the top exported commodity with export sales worth 39.09 billion US dollars. Highlights on the Philippine import statistics. The total value of imports was recorded at 127.60 billion US dollar in 2024. And among the major trading partners, China was the top country of origin of imported goods valued at 32.83 billion US dollar in 2024. Among the commodity groups, electronic products was the top imported commodity valued at 27.38 billion US dollars. Now we give you the highlights on Philippine export from January to May 2025. From January to May 2025, the total value of export was recorded at 34.20 billion US dollars. And among major trading partners, USA was the top country of destination of exported goods valued at 5.38 billion US dollars. And among commodity groups, Electronic products was the top exported commodity with an export value worth of 17.80 billion US dollar. Now, the highlights on the import statistics for January to May 2025. The total value of import was recorded at 53.87 billion US dollars. And among the trading partner, China was the top country of origin of imported goods with 15.31 billion US dollar. Among the commodity groups, electronic products was the top imported commodity valued at 11.94 billion US dollar. Now we go to the unit value index for exports and imports. What is unit value index? Unit value refers to the right price of the commodity, which is obtained by dividing the value of the commodity by its corresponding quantity. While the unit value index for export and imports is a measure of changes over time in the unit value or unit price of exported and imported goods. The unit value index of exported goods in 2024 is 113.8. It registered an annual increment of 2.1% in 2024, which is lower relative to the 4.2% growth rate in 2023. The unit value index of imported goods in 2024 is 123.2. It registered an annual increment of 0.5% in 2024, which is also slower than the 1.5% growth rate in 2023. The unit value index of exported goods in 2024 is 113.8. This means that the average unit value of exported goods has increased by 13.8% in 2024 from the base year 2018. And on the other hand, the unit value of imported goods in 2024 is 123.2. This means that the average unit value of imported goods has increased by 23.2% in 2024 from the base year 2018. The year-on-year growth rate of exported goods in 2024 is 2.1%. This means that the unit value of exported goods in 2024 has increased by 2.1% compared with 2023. Meanwhile, the year-on-year growth of imported goods in 2024 is 0.5%. This means that the unit value of imported goods in 2024 has increased by 0.5% compared with 2023. Now we go to the seasonally adjusted IMTS. What is seasonally adjustment? Seasonally adjustment is statistical technique used to estimate and remove the effects of seasonal patterns from a time series to reveal certain non-seasonal features. The resulting seasonally adjusted data can provide a better picture of underlying trends and help with the analysis and forecasting. The graph shows the original and seasonally adjusted value of total export from May 2024 to May 2025. The green solid line is the original value of total export, while the black broken line is seasonally adjusted value of total exports. In May 2025, the seasonally adjusted value of total export amounted to 7.07 billion US dollar. This indicates a monthly increment of 0.2% from the deseasonalized total export value of 7.05 billion US dollar in April 2025. The seasonal factors, such as the degree of demand for selected major types of good during the period, push up the total value of exports. Now we go to total imports. Here, the graph shows the original and seasonally adjusted value of total imports from May 2024 to May 2025. The orange solid line is the original value of total imports, while the black broken line is the seasonally adjusted value of total imports. In May 2025, the value of seasonally adjusted total imports amounted to 10.59 billion US dollars. This represents a monthly decline of 3% from its 10.91 billion US dollar, the seasonalized total import value in April 2025. The seasonal factors, such as the degree demand of selected major types of goods during the period, pulled down the total value of imports. This ends our presentation on the International Merchandise Trade Statistics for 2024 and from January to May 2025, Unit Value Index for export and imports in 2024, and seasonally adjusted IMTS for May 2025. For more data on IMTS, please visit our PSA website and social media website at PSA.gov.ph. Thank you very much, and again, a pleasant morning to all.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Jeng. And before we proceed to the next part of our program, let's have another fun quiz. Again, kindly visit the quiz.com or kindly scan the QR code or enter the PIN code with 419879. Oh, sorry, the PIN code is 851560. Okay, I guess we are ready with our first question. We have 45, 46, and counting the mga players po. Okay, so let's start. First question. In 2024, which country was the Philippines' top import trading partner? Choices are China, Indonesia, Japan. And the correct answer is China. And our top scorer is Miss Ella. Let's proceed to the second question. From January to May 2025, what was the top exported commodity group of the Philippines? Choices are electronic products, other manufactured goods, other mineral products. And the correct answer is electronic products. And our top scorer is Mr. Aaron from INS. Last question. What was the Philippines' rank among the ASEAN member states in terms of total value exports in 2024? Choices are fourth. I'm not sure it's fifth or sixth. And the correct answer is sixth. And our top three winners. Third place. Congratulations to Jay. Baka ko yan, Jordan. Our second placer is Kath, and our winner is Mr. Aaron from INS. We will award our prizes ngayon na, okay? May I request Ma'am Grace again, Ma'am Minette, and Ma'am Rachel? Pinapakita talaga nila yung score, so... Okay, third placer, congratulations to Jay. From Cepo. Next, second placer, Miss Kath. Tama. Okay, Miss Kath from Phil Export. And our winner for this round is Mr. Aaron from INS. Okay, thank you very much to our PSA officials and to our winners for the second round of our fun quiz. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's now listen to our first discussant, the Chief of the Policy Research Service Trade Remedies Office of the Department of Agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Mr. John Gregory V. Aquino. A round of applause, please.
Good morning po to everyone and to our PSA officials and to our colleagues po from the government and as well as from our private sector representatives today po. So good morning po and we're happy to be here with you po. And this is my first time attending this event po and again, very timely nga po yung theme on building bridges because we are also a newly reconstituted office under the Department of Agriculture. And this is an opportune time for us to engage with our stakeholders and other industry, our government offices rather, when it comes to data po, to have an informed decisions, particularly in our policy-making processes. So again, for this morning, we will be presenting our insights related to the IMTS 2024 and then until yung 2025 po. But this one, while the IMTS 2024 highlights yung more on electronics and the industrial products po yung na-highlight doon sa report, we focus, or I personally focus po yung presentation namin related to agriculture because we wanted to see, or the PSA and the other offices here to be informed on how this data are being used and relevant to the Department of Agriculture, particularly when it comes to agricultural policies po. Sige ba, next. So again, siguro pa yung previous slide, I included a brief introduction of our office. So again, we are the Trade Remedies Office of the Department of Agriculture. So we are under the Department of Policy and Research Service po. So we operate as the specialized and dedicated unit handling trade remedy matters. So yung mga trade remedy matters po natin, these are intended to safeguard our domestic agricultural industries po. So that's what our office is doing. And similarly, sa amin din pong opisina na lodge yung task or mandate to have a centralized database for agricultural products within the Department of Agriculture. So that is a big task, and but we are up for the challenge po, and we are engaging mainly with our partner government agencies such as the PSA and the Bureau of Customs on this one po. So in terms of the implications or the insights that we gather from the IMTS po data. So we start with the general categories po. Kinategorize ko po into 4 sections yung insights namin. So one is on policy and economic implications. So the IMTS data po, particularly in terms of the agricultural sector po or data, so implies that there are, or it still highlights that there is a gap between our domestic productions and our international trade, particularly in the continuous imports of our agricultural commodities. And in 2024 po, among the top 20 commodities na ini-import pa rin natin, are coming from the cereal category, and then yun pong mga fats and oils din po natin. So namely, pagdating po doon sa cereal categories, we have rice and corn. While we have noted that this year po, we have a positive increase doon po sa ating local production of rice and corn. But again, that is still not enough to supply the demand currently needed in the Philippines. So there is still a supplication of imported commodities po in this category. And then similarly, for frozen pork products po. Again, meron pa din po tayong issue on the AMS, but we are still continuing po yung mga recovery programs implemented by the Department of Agriculture, and hopefully in the coming years we'll be able to stabilize na po yung ating production locally, and then malesen na rin po yung ating importation of pork products. And then similarly, the IMT has also informed us that the export growth of our high-value commodities are still flat or declining. Kumbaga po, we are still consistently exporting, but sometimes it's stagnant or it's still declining po, or we're not meeting the export demand for our commodities. And again, the top exported commodities po natin are banana pa din po, and then we are happy to note po that for coconut oil, it has recorded a positive growth po in 2024. So mainly attributed po because na-lift na po yung concern on its health concern because of its saturated fat issue. But that has been lifted po and has been proven by the study conducted by the Philippines, particularly the Philippine Coconut Authority po. So that is positive news po para doon sa ating coconut products, particularly the coconut oil and virgin coconut industry. And then the general trade data reflects the vulnerability in food security and supply chain reliance pa din po. So again, yun pa rin po yung pinapakita natin. Mainly, we are still highly reliant on the import of some commodity categories po natin. Next part po, or next category in terms of our insight is on the data relevance and use. So paano po ba nagiging relevant to the Department of Agriculture, the IMTS data? How do we make use of this data? So again, as expressed and emphasized by our previous speakers and keynote speakers po, this helped the government in making informed decision when it comes to the implementation of our policies, particularly in this sector po, yung agriculture, being an agricultural country. So during when we are referring or relying on the PSA data, including our BOC data, we use them to monitor the import and export volume trends and market shifts din po. So this helped the Department of Agriculture strategize and position what are the commodities that we can export and import, and at the same time during our trade negotiations po, we know or we base our strategies on negotiating with our partner countries based on this data po. So saan ba tayo may mga leverages na commodities, and what are the other areas of commodities apart from the traditional ones that we're already exporting ang meron pang potential when it comes to export and imports as well. And then support evidence-based policy on tariff, subsidy allocation, and research and development activities of the Department of Agriculture. So again, gone are the days po that we are just implementing regulations. It should be science-based and fact-based or evidence-based na po yung ating mga regulatory tools ngayon within the Department of Agriculture. So lahat po or karamihan sa ginagawa po ng Department of Agriculture is now supported with data. So yun po yung ginagawa namin. And then in addition to this, yung aming pong opisina mismo, we are utilizing the PSA and the BOC data when it comes to trade remedy investigation. So when there are indications of potential dumping to our commodities that might affect yung ating mga local or domestic industry, then we made use of this data to establish ano po ba yung extent of the damage that this imported products could cause doon sa ating domestic products. So these are some of the concrete examples on how we utilize this data, and this data supports our regulations pa within the Department of Agriculture. And then of course, informs the logistic and infrastructure investment. So again, alam naman po natin within the government, very limited yung resources allocations that we have. While there are increases in budget allocations yearly, there are still more areas that we needed to focus on yung ating mga resources po. So that's why, based on this data, we are guided and mas nagkakaroon po kami ng mga informed decisions on where to put yung ating po mga resources for mas effective and efficient implementations ng ating mga programs. And then next category po is on the observations and gaps po, particularly on the IMTS. So again, these are personally experienced by our team po when we were handling a case study on a specific commodity. So there are product codes po that are too broad, which limits po yung data disaggregation. So at times, particularly for chicken leg quarters, for example, meron tayong general broad categories for chicken, but when we look at the specific for chicken leg quarters, for example, we had a hard time po looking for that. So, but again, we communicated and coordinated with our PSA counterpart po, and they're able to provide us the disaggregated data. But yun nga po, if you needed that level, or yung minsan po kasi too broad, depende din po kasi, in-explain naman sa amin that there are limitations on the data or the number. So minsan maliit lang siya to be disaggregated pa into specific commodity groups. So that's why hindi na siya nasasama. So but again, this will be helpful particularly kapag ka po when handling mga trade investigations nga po, ay very specific po kasi yung mga product concerns natin. So yan. And then there are challenges pa rin po in reconciling with LGU or farm level data. So sometimes there are discrepancies or differences between the local or yung farm gate data natin versus that is reported from at the level of PSA. But again, with our engagement with PSA, it has been explained to us that there are treatments na ginagawa po doon sa data natin. That's why there are discrepancies. But then again, these are not, kumbaga po, hindi naman siya significant. Kumbaga, there are parallelism pa din po na ma-observe natin. It comes to trend of those data between the national and that of the local unit. And then underreporting on cross-border trade po are also observed. Kasi again, there are informal trades po na hindi naman nakaka-capture talaga ng ating enumeration. And even with the Department of Agriculture, that remains a challenge for us po, no? Kahit pa meron na kami mga focal persons at the regional level, syempre yung efficiency and then yung mga resources din po remains a challenge for us to get yung mga kumaga mas reflective data of the current situation within the regions po or the local level. Kaya po, again, ang ginagamit namin is best available data based on kung ano po yung nakuha ng ating mga regional counterparts. And then lastly, some of the recommendations po that we'd like to put forward are to highlight yung agriculture trade data in the IMTS reports. We do understand na yun nga po, the top export and import commodities are being highlighted in the summaries, but then again, siguro po being an agriculture country, it would also help having a specific portion on the report or in the summary highlighting the studies of agricultural products. But we do also recognize that there are separate infographics highlighting po yung imports and yung IMTS data on agricultural products. And then alignment of IMTS data with key DA agencies like yung sa BAI, NMI, SBPI, because this agencies po are the regulatory arm of the Department of Agriculture. So they are observing and collecting mainly the data for the department. And then, yun nga po, our office will now try to coordinate and have a centralized database within the Department of Agriculture on top of the existing efforts pa po of the general command center or database command center by the Department of Agriculture. So doon din po kami naka-anchor. But then, again, we are wishing na magkaroon po ng magkaroon pang alignment activities among these agencies. And I think this has been being addressed naman po doon sa mga various technical working groups na being chaired by the PSA as well. And then improve on product code disaggregation. So again, as I highlighted before, that there are limitations on some product codes that we have encountered. And then lastly is to strengthen collaboration and data sharing on agricultural trade among key agencies such as the PSA, BOC, and the Department of Agriculture po. So again, we had previous engagements na po with PSA and BOC on data sharing, and we have existing mga data sharing agreements po between these agencies, and we wanted to further refine or review those existing mechanisms po para po mas mag-align pa yung mga data namin, especially that now within the department nga po, we are a new unit established to support the department when it comes to trade data po natin. So I think that ends our insights po when it comes to agriculture trade data and how IMTS works or being used by the Department of Agriculture. So thank you very much po.
Okay, thank you very much to our first discussant, Mr. John Gregory V. Aquino from the Department of Agriculture. Now let's welcome our second discussant, the OIC Assistant National Statistician of the Macroeconomic Accounts Service of the Philippine Statistics Authority. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome OIC ANS Mark C. Pascasio. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Jordan. Good morning, everyone. So as part of the discussant group, I'll be presenting some of the insights on the international merchandise trade statistics, or IMTS, a national accounts perspective. So our group is the Macroeconomic Account Service of the Philippine Statistics Authority. We're working closely with our partners from the Economic Sector Statistics Service. This is under one office, under Assistant Secretary Divina Gracia del Prado. Of course, we're highly dependent on the availability of data, and particularly yung IMTS data, the exports, imports of goods data, is being utilized by the national accounts compilers. So for the outline of my presentation, I'll be giving you a briefer on the supply and use framework, where imports and exports of goods is, the concepts in the system of national accounts, the uses of IMTS in the compilation of the national accounts of the Philippines, and I'll be providing some insights, analysis, and some ways forward. So in national accounting, we are utilizing the supply and use framework. As you can see, in the screen, the supply and goods of services, supply of goods and services are coming from domestically produced goods and services. And as you may know, not everything is being produced here in our country. So we tend to import goods and services. So this will comprise our total supply of goods and services. So this total supply of goods and services can either be used as intermediate consumption to produce new goods and services in the economy. This can also be used as final consumption for the households and the government. Some of the supply and goods and services, or some of the supply of goods, can be capitalized, and some of this can also be exported. So the imports of goods are used as inputs, no? And the exports can also be will be used as some sort of income or revenue generating by the country. So in terms of the concept in the system of national accounts, next slide please. Exports and imports of goods consist of sales, purchases, barter, gifts, or grants of goods from residents to non-residents, and by residents from non-residents respectively. But more importantly, the concept of national accounting, IMTS, if papasok yung goods, no, sa atin, papasok sa ating economic frontier, lalabas sa ating economic frontier, it will be part of our IMTS. But in the system of national accounts, the more important concept here is the change in ownership. So when there's change in ownership, ipa-factor in na natin siya as part of our exports and imports of goods. And our imports, exports of goods is being valued at free on board value. So that includes the cost of transportation, insurance up to the border of the exporting country or region. So this is just a diagram of the transaction between residents and non-residents, so between the Philippines and the rest of the world. So there should always be change in ownership before we factor in this goods, these commodities in our economy. But there are also exclusions. So equipment and other goods that are sent abroad for minor processing, maintenance, servicing, or repair. This excludes goods processed and transformed into different goods. Goods that leave a country temporarily being generally returned in their original state and without change of ownership. Goods shipped to a country's own embassies, military bases, or other enclaves, because these military bases are considered part of our economy still. So there are commodities na pumapasok sa ating bansa or lumalabas sa ating bansa, not necessarily part of the national accounts. So there are some na papasok sa atin, may konti ka lang na nagagawin na process, lalagyan mo ng butones or lalagyan mo ng zipper or lalagyan mo ng manggas, hindi yan part ng national accounts. So there should be change in ownership, and there's a major kumbaga, transformation dun sa goods na mangyayari, no, before it can be considered as part of our national accounts. So these are some of the uses of IMTS in the compilation of the national accounts of the Philippines. Of course, ito nga ay parte ng expenditure side, expenditure approach of the national accounts, exports and imports of goods. We also use this to validate the results of the manufacturing industry and other expenditures, for example, changes in inventory, durable equipment, among others. I'll be showing you some scenarios where we use imports and exports of goods to validate or triangulate results of the various information that we gather, not only from our agency but from our partner agencies as well. So we also have derived macroeconomic indicators. I'll be discussing this as part of our insights or analysis. For example, the trade balance, the terms of trade, trading gains and losses, among others. I think from the message of our national statistician down to the discussion of Mr. Jan, nakita naman natin na talagang what we will be doing in terms of in terms of international merchandise trade statistics is to identify yung trade balance natin. Also the terms of trade, para malaman natin kung ano ba yung gaano ba kalayo na yung diferensya nung cost of exporting and importing, no? Nabanggit din yan kanina sa mga discussions. And this will also serve as inputs for the compilation of regional accounts of the Philippines and other macroeconomic accounts and statistics. This will be part of our ways forward later on. So these are some of the economic scenarios. We're not really, kumbaga, in toto using data, no? Because as I've shown earlier, we're using the supply and use framework. In the supply and use framework, you'd be seeing discrepancies, inconsistencies, data gaps from the various data that we're using in the compilation of national accounts. So we are also using agricultural statistics. We're also using the MISI data of our partners from the ESSS. So in terms of the production of banana, for example, as you may know, ito ay isa sa mga commodities na in-export natin, no? Agriculture commodities. So the production of banana, it's either we export it raw or we further process it so that we'll be able to produce, for example, banana chips. And then, anong gagawin natin dito? I-export natin ito, no? So yung bang export natin na value is somehow consistent with what we have produced, or what the manufacturing industries have reported. So dito natin tinitingnan yung pag-validate natin ng mga different data natin. So also, in terms of the semiconductors is around 50% of our exports of goods, as mentioned earlier in the results of the 2025 IMTS and the January-May 2025 IMTS. So this will be further processed again, and sabi ko nga kanina, this comprised 50%, so we're exporting it. So the MISI data, we can validate the results of the MISI data from the imported semiconductors or the other way around. So ganun natin siya ina-analyze when we are talking the GDP, when we're talking about the results of our economic performance. So in terms of the fixed assets, we're also importing a lot of machineries and equipment. So this machineries and equipment, meron din siyang mga codes, meron din siyang mga classifications. So makikita natin dito if we're importing more on construction, mining equipment, agriculture machineries, titingnan natin kung it would translate to production in this specific sectors. For example, if we will be importing fixed assets on construction and mining, titingnan natin kung mag-grow din ba yung construction, if there will be construction activities in the economy. Same goes with the importation of agriculture machineries. Merong programa ang ating gobyerno, mechanization of the agriculture sector. So titingnan natin if this would translate to more production in the agri sector. In terms of the imports of mineral fuels, alam din natin na isa ito naman sa pinaka malalaki nating ini-import because we're not producing crude, no? That's why we're importing petroleum products. So kung titingnan natin, yung the manufacturing industry is highly dependent or using these fuels, these petroleum products to produce goods and services. And would this translate to more production that would later on produce surplus? The production of these commodities will then be part of our inventory, or some can also be exported. So these are some of the discussions that we are doing in the compilation of the national accounts. The 5.4% that we released in May 2025, hindi lang siya ganon kadali, but we're analyzing a lot of data before we come up with the final gross domestic product figures. So the exports of goods, annualized growth rate, it should be 2010 to 2024, is growing by 3.3%. The IOG annualized growth rate, again 2010 to 2024, is growing by 8.4%. So looking at the graph, as you can see, faster kadalasan from 2010 yung growth ng ating imports of goods compared with exports of goods. So IOG is relatively growing faster. As mentioned earlier in the presentations, in the discussions, electronic products comprise more than 50% of exports of goods. Agriculture products is around 8%. Imports of fuels, equipment, and other inputs is around 45% of the imports of goods. I'll not be discussing some policy implications. I saw my friend there, Richard Ballester, maybe later on he can discuss some policy implications of our colleague from DepDev. So these are some of the numbers that we're seeing when we are using the imports and exports of goods, the IMTS data from our partner. So we're also deriving macroeconomic indicators as part of our publication. So some of the derived indicators that we are publishing is the trade deficit. No? Kanina nakita din natin the trade balance. No? It seems that from 2010 up to present, lumalaki, nagiging wider yung ating trade deficit. But somehow, consumes, yung ating economy consumes more than what we can produce. Diba? Sabi nga natin kanina, yung ating total supply is comprised of domestically produced goods and services and imports of goods and services. So it seems na lumalaki yung importation natin, mas dumadami yung consumption natin compared with what we can produce. This may also result to some job losses. However, this may help increase economic activity and boost living standards. According to the World Economic Forum, trade deficits can be damaging, but they also bring economic benefits. But this will also not serve as basis whether trade policies are good or bad. There are a lot of factors, no? As I mentioned, nandiyan si Richard to give some insights also later on, if there will be time. So another derived indicator is the terms of trade. The terms of trade reflects the relative price between exports and imports. So we're using our implicit price index, but when Ms. Jeng presented the unit value index earlier, I was computing somehow medyo malapit din dito yung nako-compute ko using the unit value index. So this again reflects the relative price between exports and imports. Purchase more or fewer imports for same amount of exports, and this would also have impact on the standard of living in a country. Exporting goods which are highly priced results on higher incomes and the ability to buy cheaper imports. So mas gusto sana natin na yung ating trade terms of trade is more than 100, no? Greater than 100. Kasi ibig sabihin, mas mataas yung, kumbaga, na-generate natin na revenue, mas mataas yung nabebenta natin na commodities kaysa doon sa ini-import natin na commodities. So yun yung ibig sabihin niya. But as you can see, medyo pababa yung ating terms of trade. So meaning, mas malaki yung presyo ng ating ini-import kaysa sa ini-export natin. Bakit? Mineral fuels. As I have mentioned, we're importing a lot of petroleum products. And we're exporting 50% semiconductors na kung saan yung presyo niya fluctuating, at the same time, bumababa din, no? So, siguro baka we can focus, as mentioned earlier by Sir John, we can focus on exporting agriculture products, increasing more the production of our agriculture goods so that we can export more agriculture products. So some ways forward on our part, well, we all know that the IMTS is really a tool to further the analysis in by-country transactions. Binanggit kanina yung mga top country destination, top country of origin. So we can further analyze, no? Ano ba possible impact ng pag-impose ng tarifications? But this will also somehow strengthen our bilateral relationship with the other economies, no? So you can see kung saan ba meron din tayong comparative advantage, a cliche, but still very relevant, no? Comparative advantage. Saan ba tayo sa tingin natin we can produce more so that we can leverage this, we can export more. This will also generate more variables to support there's a need to generate more variables to support compilation of regional accounts, particularly on the origin and the final user. We also use the IMTS to compile our regional accounts of the Philippines. But we know that there are still a lot of variables that we can extract from the data coming from our partners from the Bureau of Customs. So later on, yun yung pag-uusapan pa namin. Also, our team is also the ones compiling the creative economy. So we want to improve our compilation of the creative economy. And the IMTS would also serve as a basis to generate creative goods. Also, as you may know, the Philippine Statistics Authority just had the ceremonial signing of the PENCAS Act. This will institutionalize the generation of the environmental accounts and statistics in the Philippine statistical system. So this is also, the IMTS will also serve as inputs so that we'll be able to generate environmental accounts like the material flow accounts. Saan ba nanggagaling yung mga inputs na pumapasok sa ekonomiya? Ano naman yung mga wastes or residuals na babalik sa ating environment? So, personally, no, itong IMTS is really a powerful tool. This is a rich source of information. Maraming variables ito na kung saan pwede din natin i-combine with the other data. And I hope that this will be used to craft trade policies for a more sustainable and inclusive growth. So that ends my presentation. Thank you very much at magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, OIC ANS Mark Pascasio. Now may we request our PSA officials to award the certificate and token of appreciation to our esteemed discussants. So we have certificate of appreciation is awarded to our first discussant, Mr. John Gregory V. Aquino from the Department of Agriculture in grateful recognition of his valuable contribution as a discussant during the 2025 Data Dissemination Forum on IMTS. Same certificate is awarded to OIC ANS Mark C. Pascasio. Okay, thank you very much to our PSA officials, Ma'am Grace, Ma'am Rachel, and to our discussants. Now let's proceed to the next part of our event, the data exhibit. So as we all know, trade plays a crucial role in driving the global economy, enabling the exchange of goods across borders. Today's exhibit offers a unique chance to dive into trade data in a dynamic and interactive way, showcasing everything from historical patterns to the latest trends shaping the future of international trade. As you move through the exhibit at the back, you'll see insightful visualizations mapping trade flows between key countries, trends highlighting exports and imports, and interactive dashboards letting you explore the trade statistics by country and commodity group for the data of 2024 and January to May 2025. So before we proceed at the back, feel free to explore the dashboard, and our team is available throughout the space to assist you. So may I request everyone to please stand up and visit our kiosk or exhibit kiosk at the back for 15 to 20 minutes. So let's embark on this together to better understand the world of trade. Enjoy the exhibit. Again, may we request everyone to please settle down. We're about to resume our program. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, to moderate the open forum this morning, let's all welcome the Chief Statistical Specialist of the Production Accounts Division of the Macroeconomic Accounts Service, CSS Florandi S. Polistico. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Jordan, and good morning, everyone. Again, I am Randy Polistico from the Production Accounts Division of the Macroeconomic Accounts Service of the PSA. And as featured by our first quiz this morning, and as mentioned by OIC ENS Mark, our group is one of the users of the IMTS for the national accounts, together with the balance of payments of the BSP. And I welcome you all to this open forum part of this event of the data dissemination of the IMTS, focusing on the period 2024 and the first 5 months of 2025. But first of all, I would like to invite our panelists for this open forum. First of all, from our officials from the PSA, I would like to invite Deputy National Statistician of the Sectoral Statistics Office, Dr. Divina Gracia L. Del Prado. Please occupy the middle seat, Ma'am Grace. And Assistant National Statistician of the Economic Sector Statistics Service, Ms. Rachel Laksa. And the Chief Statistical Specialist, the Division Chief of the Trade Statistics Division, Ms. Jeng Sullivan. And of course, we would like to invite our keynote speaker, Attorney Rivera of the DTI Export Marketing Bureau. Likewise, Mr. John Gregory Aquino, our discussant from the Policy Research Service of the Department of Agriculture. And finally, Mr. Mark Pascasio, OIC Assistant National Statistician of the Macroeconomic Accounts Service. So once again, this is our open forum part of our event this morning. Well, we have listened to the presentation of the highlights of the results of the IMTS of or in the Philippines, which features what happened last year, as presented by by ENS Rachel, and the most recent results as presented by Ms. Jeng, with the seasonally adjusted trade data as well as the unit value index, two of the newest statistics released by the PSA. And of course, you have also the primer in your kit, and you also saw the data exhibit at the back. And also, Attorney Rivera, in her keynote speech, helped us gain some insights on the explanations and some policy implications on the performance of our country's trade in goods, and emphasized the value of numbers to inform policy decisions. Likewise, Mr. John Gregory Aquino, our discussant from DA, pointed out notable and significant findings that are crucial to agricultural policies. And of course, OIC and SMARC emphasized the link of the trade of goods data to the national accounts. So now I would like to open the floor for your questions, clarifications, further insights, and perspective on the presentations that we hear this morning. So, sino po yung unang magtatanong? We have our stakeholders here, our users. We have representatives from DepDev. Earlier, OICNS mentioned Director Ballester. Shout out ko na rin po kayo, sir. We have participants from BSP, DOF, and and all other stakeholders from different agencies. So the floor is now open for your questions. So as usual, we have our reminders. If you have questions, just ask your questions concisely and relevant to the topic. Just go to the microphone and state your name and agency. Sige po, we have our 2 microphones there. Sino po yung unang magtatanong? Usually yung unang tanong yung the most difficult. Are you happy with the results? But of course, you may share your insights on the results. But maybe before your question, maybe I would like to address first our panelists. Maybe have some reactions to the observations or the challenges and gaps and recommendations raised by Mr. John Gregory earlier. Maybe we can hear from DNS Grace and ENS Rachel. He mentioned earlier some challenges and gaps and recommendations. Maybe the ESSS, the SSO can share also some response to the good points. We appreciate the points that were raised earlier by Mr. Chan. Microphone, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. What I recall from the message of our panelists, Sir John, yung kanyang issue on the top commodities presented. There are actually, in the past, we're presenting top 3, I think, but I requested to shorten it in the interest of time. For agriculture, we have actually a special release, release every quarter. Monthly na pala, kasi there was a suggestion din last year na going monthly. So we are now releasing, it's a press release actually. Special release, not press release. Special release, monthly yan, na agricultural commodities, and we release it not later than 40 days after the reference month. And we also have every semester and annual release. So yung semestral natin, 90 days after the reference semester, and then yung annual natin ay 90 days after the reference year. In terms of the discrepancy, maybe Ines Rachel will add later. In addition to what Ines Rachel will mention later on, we are actually doing mirror analysis of our traded goods. So meron kaming mirror analysis, tinitingnan natin yung ano yung discrepancy ng ini-import natin sa export naman ng ating partner economies. So this is among countries, Philippines and other Asian countries. And we're looking also at the discrepancies of what the Philippine export versus what are also imported by our partner economies. In fact, yung ating handbook on mirror analysis, kasama ang Pilipinas, 3 Asian countries na nag-contribute dun sa experience natin on mirror analysis. So, tinitingnan natin yung gaps natin, but actually we have not started talking also on how to resolve these gaps with our partner economies. But that will be, I think, be done as a ways forward. I will ask Ines Rachel to add more, especially on the discrepancies.
Thank you, DNS. As mentioned, one of the yung mga recommendations and issues highlighted by Sir John earlier is the data discrepancies. Then as Grace mentioned about the data discrepancies across trading partners, and we also have data discrepancies among agencies here in the Philippines. Ano? We have BOC, we have PSA data, the regulatory arm of DA, particularly BFAR, BAI, and BPI also have their own imports and exports data. And yes, there are discrepancies because there are differences dun sa processing. Ano, what we gather from the BOC administrative data, we do further processing, validation here in the PSA. That's why there are slight differences, as well as I think from the BAI, BFAR, and BPI. But as mentioned also by Sir John, we are resolving this through the meetings in the technical working groups. We have technical working groups on crop statistics, technical working group on fishery statistics, and technical working group on livestock and poultry statistics, where we regularly on a quarterly basis meet and discuss these discrepancies. Just recently, we had a meeting with the technical working group on fishery statistics. So the BFAR presented how they collect and process their imports and exports data. The PSA presented also how we process and collects our imports and export data, as well as the BOC. So yung tatlong agency, we presented our methodologies, we presented our processes, and from there, we identified, that's why we have differences, kasi may ganitong step, may further steps from each other, ano. So again, we are actively resolving those issues, if possible, to harmonize. Through this technical working groups meeting, we also have partnerships and meetings with the TRO of the DA for the data sharing. Another points that he mentioned earlier, we are working on the data sharing so that yung data is across the three agencies na, no, PSA, BOC, and TRO, para hindi na nagkakaroon ng mga discrepancies. Thank you.
Thank you, DNS Grace and ENS Rachel, for informing our participants on the efforts made by the PSA to have a more accurate IMTS data. And the PSA is working with our various partners and stakeholders to have a more accurate data. And of course, the IAC on agricultural statistics is one of the most active IAC in the PSA. Okay, so again, I would like to invite everyone to ask a question and share your perspective on what have just presented today on the IMTS. Sabi nga nila, kapag walang question, dalawa lang po yun. It's either totally accepted and understood or totally misunderstood. Okay. I think the presentations are very clear. And also, we shared the data exhibit at the back. And hopefully, you can use that and when you research on the use of our data. Sige po kayong mahiyang magtanong. Kasi if you don't have questions, again, lilingon po ako dito sa ating mga panelists. If you can provide more insights, no, doon sa uses of data. Like for example, on the national accounts, maybe OICNS Mark Pascasio can expand a little bit on the challenges on the use of data, so that our data providers as well can hear on the challenges and the use of the trade data in the national accounts. Please, ENS Mark.
Thank you, Randy. Well, as I've mentioned, yung IMTS is a very important input, no, in the compilation of national accounts. And as mentioned in the discussion of Sir John and the response of the ENS Grace and ENS Rachel, meron siyempre limitation yung data natin. And alam din natin yon na, kumbaga, as presented, meron tayong sinusunod na framework in the compilation of national accounts. We're using a system, the system of national accounts. And the system of national accounts, one of the basic principles is the supply and use framework. So in terms of the limitations, we try to address this through the framework. Of course, we're constantly discussing with the team of ANS Racial. Sila naman palagi yung, kumbaga yung major na data providers namin, of course, along with the other data partners outside PSA. So there's constant discussion on the issues and concerns of the compilation of national accounts with the team of ANS Racial. And yun nga, isa nga din doon yung ating IMTS. But some of the issues and concerns, particularly yung timeliness, we were able to address it already. So yung timeliness, wala na yung problem before kasi the national accounts is releasing this the GDP figures, tapos IMTS will release it after, no? Sabi nga natin, these serve as inputs. How come na nagkakaroon ng mas maaga pa yung GDP kaysa doon sa data source? So na-address naman na natin yon. But as mentioned earlier, yung mirroring, we're also doing some studies on trying to compare our imports, our exports with the other economies. Yun din naman yung isa sa mga tinitingnan ng mga strategies, no? How we can ensure na tama yung datos natin compared with the data coming from the different economies. There's also, I know there's also concern with regards to the balance of payments data. Nandyan yung mga kasama natin from the central bank. We're having this series of discussions, technical discussions on how to somehow identify divergence. No? Conceptually kasi parehas lang naman siya. The main source of information is coming from the IMTS. But there might be some, as mentioned by ANS Racial, yung the processing, no? In terms of the assumptions, in terms of the adjustments, maybe these are some of the factors that contribute to the divergence of the balance of payments and the national accounts figure. So there's constant engagement with our data partners. Hindi naman mawawala, hindi naman national accounts is independent on its own. We have to discuss it with our data partners so that we'll be able to address concerns, so that we'll be able to release reliable, accurate statistics. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ENS Mark. So for the information of everyone, the group of the national accounts is also a user of the trade data, and we have a good working relation with our data provider, and in fact we are constantly discussing on how to improve the data input to our national accounts. Specifically, the data from trade will be used in the supply and use table. This is a very important framework in the economy. Integrating the link of trade data with all other activities in the economy. So we're down to our last two questions. Questions. Yes, sir. Please state your name, sir, and agency. Thank you.
I'm Eric Etrata from the Export Marketing Bureau, BPI. I'd like to ask lang po sa PSA if they could possibly include yung mga shares of export sa mga IPAs, investment promotion areas, and also yung shares of MSMEs when it comes to export.
Thank you, sir. Maybe we will ask ENS Rachel or Ms. Jeng. Maybe the question is more on data disaggregation into investment promotion agencies and some other disaggregation like the MSMEs. Please, Ms. Jeng.
Okay, so data by IPAs, actually we have only one IPA who is providing data, ma'am. That's the CDC. But we can, the problem is we have to build a reference file regarding by location also, and also address of the trader itself, where it is located. Is it classified as to be an IPA or not? So actually, we're asking also some group like PESA if they have a list of IPAs, so we can Yeah, and with the mass, we also have IPAs, but the problem is that it's not identified in the forms if that company is under an IPAs. So maybe the Bureau of Customs can also help us later in identifying the IPAs in the transaction level or in the form itself. So we can build this reference file by IPAs. But we can consider the data coming from the Clark Development CDC as one of the IPAs to be considered.
Thank you, Ms. Jang. And thank you, sir, for that question. If you have some follow-up questions later on, you can just talk to Ms. Jang personally. Okay, any other question? Maybe another last two questions. Yes, ma'am, please. Please state your name, ma'am, and the agency and to whom your question will be addressed.
Hello. Hi, good morning po. I'm Alisa Villanueva from the BSP Research Academy. So my question is more on technical po. So for example, if you want to do a research on trade industry, so is there like a concordance table po to match, let's say, if we want to have a study on industry and then yung trade. So is there a concordance table to match PSIC with the PSCC, since I saw here po that you're using the 2022 PSCC codes? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that question.
Okay, so there is a reference file or a correlation between PSIC and PSCC. So it is called the CPC or the PCPC for Philippines. But however, for the recent PCPC is still 2002. So it's not, the AHT ender or the PSCC is not updated as to the latest, because the latest is already 2022. So if we will have that, we can relate industry and commodity level by product. Then if you're looking for this study on the relationship between traders and to what type of industry, we have it in our data enclave, but this is only limited for the manufacturing sectors first, because what was originally linked is the trader with the kind of business for manufacturing. Sa data enclave po, meron na po tayong ganyang set ng data.
Siguro in addition to the response of Cheng, because classification is under other office of PSA is actually under services, standard service, we can discuss to them the updating of the PC, the Philippine Central Product Classification. No, it is actually a mandate of one of our services, the standard service, so that they can update this classification.
Thank you, Ms. Jang and DNS Grace, and from our participant from the BSP Research Academy. So another question, ma'am? Please state your name and your agency.
Hi everyone, I am Colleen from the CEIC Data. First of all, thank you for all your efforts in providing accurate IMTS data. A company like us heavily use this data, and I would just like to highlight the new IMTS dashboard that we just saw earlier at the back. I am just curious to know when will this be launched to the PSA website. And I also have a suggestion to better improve the dashboard. That is, if we could further break down the data into monthly frequency And it will be also helpful if this can be exported to Excel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are happy that you found it useful. This is actually the first time that we launched this dashboard. And the initial plan actually is just for this IMTS Dissemination Forum. But with the interest that we gathered from this forum, of course, we will plan forward kung paano namin ito madami pang makakagamit at madami pang makakakita. So we will discuss later on yung plans if this will be launched in our PSA website or other ways that the users can get hold of this dashboard. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ernest Rachel, and thank you, ma'am, for your interest on the dashboard. Yes, sir. Please.
Dan Lachica from SAPI, the Electronics Industry Association. I spoke with Ms. Rachel earlier about the reported electronics exports at 39 billion. And per our SAPI records, we have it at 42.6 billion. And whenever DTI or OSAPEA or even Malacanang asks, we report that number. So Ms. Jeng explained that the possible difference would be, besides the 9 sectors, there's a group that says other electronics that's not included. As you know, we play in the global market, and I think if there's a way we can reconcile that, so we're reporting the same numbers. Kasi it's leaving, you leave it on the table at 3.6 billion is a significant number, especially when we have an economic development plan that says we should reach 100 billion exports. Sayang yon. So we'll work with Ms. Jeng to see how we can reconcile that beyond the 9 classifications, because the reality is we export those. Sayang naman kung hindi natin i-reflect sa export numbers. Thank you.
Thank you for your insight, sir. Ms. Jeng. DNS Grace.
Thank you very much, Sir Danny, for raising that question. I would suggest siguro na mag-meet ang PSA and your team to look at the sources of discrepancies. Kasi maliit na lang naman yung discrepancy, sa amin kasi we exclude yung other
electronics, sir,
Other
has its
electronics.
own major commodity grouping. And then with the electronic products have only the 9 sub-grouping. And then maybe the photovoltaic product also is classified on another group, sir, which is part of your electronic products, I think so.
Yeah, so I guess it's better to have a meeting, bilateral meeting between the two so that we can look at the detailed sources of discrepancies.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jeng, and thank you, sir. Maybe we can invite Mr. John Gregory for some question or additional
Thank you, sir. More on a
insight.
question po, no? Because I've seen, we'd like to recognize that there are private sector partners here present today. So we just wanted to, personally, I wanted to understand how their data, or they are data, some are data providers as well. So how their data are being integrated into the IMTS report or being used to that level. Because I'm raising this question din po because currently within our department, we are also building a database, and we wanted to really engage with our private stakeholders to help us in data gathering and really excuse me, make our database really reflective of the current data, just like what Sir has raised earlier, that when we talk of, when the private sector says report their data, even the government, kumbaga, there are really minimal discrepancies on the figures, if not perfectly matching po. So, yan.
Actually, sir, we have the basic source of the trade really comes from the Bureau of Customs. The 2 forms that is being filed by the traders or their representative, the export declaration and the import entry declaration or the single administrative document. So for the imports, we all know that it's already 100% automated electronically. So we also receive electronic copies of the import entries from Bureau of Customs. But for export, we still have this a little number of documents that are processed manually because these are EDs that did not pass to the automated export documentation. So yun po yung isa. And then we also, the IMTS followed this framework, which is the International Merchandise Trade Statistics, which is still on 2010 compiler's manual. So there is some limitation that are recommended on which to include and which are to be excluded. So sometimes we have some little discrepancy with Bureau of Customs for they do have total. They include all goods that comes in the country. While for IMTS, there are some commodities that are excluded. So like this monetary gold, the mercantile, the operating lease, and then for delivered electronically. So there are really some goods, and especially for goods that are $25 below, we no longer include it in our processing of the data. So there are really recommendation in the framework that is not captured by Bureau of Customs, even for PESA, and for other agencies.
Thank you, Ms. Jeng. And as emphasized by DNS Grace earlier, the key is to collaborate and meet with our stakeholders for us to explain and maybe reconcile if there are differences.
And to add up for the private sectors, actually the private sectors are here to help us also data appreciation on how their input, because they are the one who are filling up these forms and providing information on a transaction level. So how important their responses or their reporting to the forms that we compile and process. That's why the private sectors are also invited in this.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jane. And I guess that will be the end of our open forum. We would like to thank our panelists, DS Grace, ENS Rachel, Ms. Jeng, OIC Mark, Mr. John Gregory, and of course, Attorney Rivera. Thank you for sharing your expertise. And of course, for our participants, thank you for your active engagement and meaningful questions. If you have questions in mind that you were not able to raise, just feel free to ask our panelists later on, so that you can discuss. Okay, so thank you very much. Again, I would like to thank everyone for your cooperation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to our panelists and to our moderator, Sir Randy. We will now proceed to the awarding of the plaques of recognition and as well as the token to our valued data providers and users. May we request our PSA officials, Ma'am Grace and Ma'am Rachel, to award the plaque and the token. So allow me to read the content of the plaque. So the Philippine Statistics Authority presents this plaque of appreciation to our awardee for the valuable support to PSA as the key data source in the compilation and generation of export and import statistics, given the 30th day of June 2025 at the data or the 2025 Data Dissemination Forum on International Merchandise Trade Statistics in Quezon City. Ladies and gentlemen, our first awardee is the Bureau of Customs. May we request Deputy Commissioner Ronel B. Hombre to receive the award. The Bureau of Customs is a government agency responsible for regulating and facilitating the import and export of goods. Its duties include collecting customs duties and taxes, preventing smuggling and illegal trade, and ensuring compliance with trade laws and regulations. Ladies and gentlemen, our first awardee, the Bureau of Customs. Our next awardee is the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. May we request Ms. Evelyn Rose L. Mugao, Acting Division Chief, to receive the award. So the PEZA is an attached agency to the Department of Trade and Industry. It is tasked to promote investments, extend assistance, register grants, incentives to facilitate the business operations of investors in export-oriented manufacturing and service facilities inside selected areas throughout the country proclaimed by the President of the Philippines as PEZA Special Economic Zones. Our awardee, PEZA. Our next awardee is the Econnect Pilipinas Incorporated. May we request Mr. Noel P. Malihan, Manager, to receive the award. So Econnect Pilipinas is the largest value-added service provider for e-governance services in the Philippines. It empowers people by equipping them with easy access to efficient trade and logistics-related electronic services, thereby helping the country become more competitive in the trade and investment industry in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, Econnect Pilipinas Incorporated. Our next awardee is Cargo Data Exchange Center Incorporated. May we request Director Leo Morada to receive the award. Cargo Data Exchange Center Incorporated was established in 1995 as a pioneer in electronic data exchange, providing freight forwarders a gateway to submit cargo manifest to the Bureau of Customs. Since then, SEDEC has been developing end-to-end e-commerce solutions linking logistics service providers, financial institutions, importers, manufacturers, exporters, and government agencies, pushing the Philippines towards becoming a world-class trading hub. Ladies and gentlemen, Cargo Data Exchange Center Incorporated. Our next awardee is Intercommerce Network Services Incorporated. May we request Ms. Ronaldine Palo, Account Manager 1, to receive the award. Intercommerce Network Services Incorporated, operating as Global Teleprocessing Services Incorporated since 1987, was restructured in 1998 to offer B2B electronic commerce solutions and networking facilities to Philippine businesses and government agencies, linking them with their local and global trading partners. Ladies and gentlemen, Intercommerce Network Services Incorporated. And our next awardee is the Clark Development Corporation. May we request representative from CDC? So Clark Development Corporation is a government-owned agency responsible for managing and developing the Clark Freeport and Special Economic Zones in Central Luzon, Philippines. It promotes business, tourism, and infrastructure growth in the area, aiming to make Clark a premier economic and tourism hub in the Asia-Pacific region. Thank you very much, Clark Development Corporation. Next, let's proceed to our main users of export and import statistics. Our first awardee is the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, Trade, Services, and Industry staff. May we request Assistant Director Richard Emerson Ballester to receive the award. So the Trade, Services, and Industry staff of DepDev provides technical staff support in coordinating the formulation and monitoring the implementation of national plans and policies for trade, industry, and services, including tourism, covering investments, taxation, sustainable development, science and technology, international economic cooperation, among others. Our first awardee, DepDev. Our next awardee is the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Department of Economic Statistics. May we request Deputy Director Maria Angelica B. Villena. Department of Economic Statistics of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas generate, analyzes, and reports relevant, accurate, and timely economic, monetary, financial, and other related statistics and reports for the guidance of the Monetary Board in the formulation and implementation of various policies. Thank you very much, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Our next awardee is the Department of Trade and Industry Export Marketing Bureau. May we request Ms. Angie M. Brosas, Division Chief, to receive the award. Of course, our keynote speaker, Attorney Katrina Rivera. So the Export Marketing Bureau of the Department of Trade and Industry is mandated to oversee the development, promotion, and monitoring of the Philippine exports. The EMB provides the exporters the enabling environment to make them globally competitive. And our next awardee is the Semiconductor and Electronics Industries in the Philippines Foundation Incorporated. May we request the President, Mr. Danilo C. Lachica, to receive the award. So the Semiconductor Electronics Industries in the Philippines Foundation Incorporated is the largest organization of foreign and Filipino electronics companies in the Philippines. SEPI, through its vision and dedication of its members, aims to make the Philippines a globally competitive business environment for semiconductor and electronics technologies. This is supported by its mission of enhancing and promoting the Philippines' competitive advantages and growth opportunities. So thank you very much to our awardees and to our officials, Ma'am Grace and Ma'am Rachel. And to formally close our forum this morning, may we call on the Assistant Secretary, Divina Gracia L. Del Prado of the Sectoral Statistics Office for her closing remarks. A round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, Jordan. To our keynote speaker, Attorney Maria Catrina Rivera of the Export Marketing Bureau of the Department of Trade and Industry, Assistant National Statistician Rachel Laksa of the Economic Sector Statistics Service of PSA, our discussants, Assistant National Statistician Mark J. Pascasio of the Macroeconomic Accounts Service of the PSA. We also have Mr. Jan Gregory Aquino, Chief of the Policy Research Service of the Department of Agriculture. Our distinguished guests from various government agencies, private sector, our data providers who regularly submit to us hard and electronic copies of trade documents, the traders who joined us today, my colleagues from the Philippine Statistics Authority, to everyone. Malapit ng 12, so good morning muna. Good morning to you all. So it's our pleasure to have you all with us today to witness the International Merchandise Trade Statistics Data Dissemination Forum, which we conduct annually since 2020. The regular conduct of this forum has been very vital in increasing awareness of the availability and usage of foreign trade data, or we call it international merchandise trade statistics, that are produced by the PSA. These statistics are key measures of our economic performance as producer of goods consumed by our partner countries and as a consumer of goods produced by partner economies. The PSA continuously generate IMTS data to enable monitoring of the trading activity of our country and to serve as basis for policies and programs to further improve our foreign trade. As you have seen a while ago, we have presented for the first time the seasonally adjusted value and volume of export and imports, which removes the seasonal factors. It will make the trend clearer to us. And this is also our second time to present to you the unit value index, which measures the average movement of prices of traded goods. In the pipeline are the estimation also of indices for value and volume of exported and imported goods. And these are measures of the average movement of value and quantity of imported and exported goods. I hope you have tried to navigate our data exhibit on IMTS using the interactive dashboard. We are planning to include also the one I mentioned a while ago, the mirror analysis. Maganda kung makita rin natin yung gaps natin with other economies. So this actually the mirror analysis aims to measure asymmetries or yung discrepancies of Philippine import with export to other countries, and also our discrepancy of Philippine export with import with our other countries. So as I mentioned a while ago, we are proud to say that the Philippines is one of the 3 Asian countries that contributed to its experience on mirror analysis to the IMTS mirror analysis handbook of Asian countries. So as we conclude today's event, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for making this year's Data Dissemination Forum another successful event. So I would like to thank first our keynote speaker, Attorney Maria Catrina Rivera, for the insightful and engaging keynote message. She mentioned about IMTS are not just numbers, they are lifeblood of evidence-based policy making. I would like also to express my gratitude to our discussants. We have Chief John Gregory Aquino for emphasizing the importance of IMTS to evidence-based policies related to agricultural trade. And also NS Mark Pascasio for also sharing to us the importance of IMTS data to the national accounts. Thank you as well to our data sources. Without the data you regularly provide, the compilation of IMTS would be impossible for PSA to do. So we have the following as our sources: our Bureau of Customs, Philippine Economic Zone Authority, Clark Development Corporation, and the value-added service providers. We have the Econnect, Pilipinas Incorporated, Intercommerce Network Services Incorporated, and we also have the Cargo Data Exchange Center Incorporated. So your continued support ensures that the PSA's statistical outputs remain relevant, timely, and responsive to the evolving needs of our stakeholders. To our traders as well, who are the primary source of information of IMTS, thank you for providing accurate and timely information in the forms that you are filling out when you submit your documents. To our partners from various government agencies and private sector, thank you for sharing your valuable time with us today. Your participation has greatly made this Data Dissemination Forum a very productive one. Lastly, I would like to extend my appreciation to the staff of the Trade Statistics Division of the PSA, headed by the Chief Statistical Specialist, Maria Julieta Pisoliven, with the guidance of Assistant National Statistician Rachel Laksa for the hard works in the preparation of this event. Into the staff of our Information Technology and Dissemination Service for the IT support. And of course, to our MC, Mr. Jordan Arnaiz. Laging suki namin siya. Suki niya kami. And to our moderator, CSS Randy Polistico. We look forward to more opportunities of meaningful engagement with all of you in our future fora on IMTS and in other PSA undertakings. So once again, good morning or good afternoon na, malapit na, 5 minutes na lang. May you have a blessed day ahead and have a good lunch, everyone.
Thank you very much, Asset Grace. Before we officially end today's forum, we would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our speakers, discussants, panelists, guests, and participants who contributed to the success of the 2025 Data Dissemination Forum on IMTS. To our non-PSA participants, you may claim your tokens sa ating secretariat outside the function hall po. And now may we invite all our awardees, speakers, and PSA officials to come on stage for a group photo to be followed by participants from table number 2 up to table number 10, and after that, you may proceed to the buffet station po. So may we request our PSA officials, discussants, and awardees, please, on stage for a group photo. Okay, may we request our awardees, please? Thank you. Next, our participants from table number 3, 4, and 5. Next, our participants from table 6 and 7. And last but not the least, our participants from tables number 8.